Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Now I do have to question that whole title about them actually putting in a Mad Max Saga when Mad Max is not even really in there. They could have simply just called this movie Furiosa and just maybe under like a subtitle, or not even a subtitle, but just like a little like a little headline type thing. They could have just said in the same world as Mad Max. But, you know, instead they chose to call it a Mad Max Saga, which really confused me because it has really nothing to do with Mad Max. But apparently this movie takes place in between Thunderdome and, of course, the 2015 Mad Max Fury Road. Now, what's really interesting about, or at least what I find very interesting about this film, is that it's actually very much underperforming at the box office, which is kind of curious to me because for me personally, and all these things are subjective, but I actually thought this was a pretty decent movie. I still do think that they should have taken out the Mad Max Saga in the title, but overall I did think that this movie was very enjoyable. Anya Taylor-Joy is in this, and she's the main character who portrays Furiosa. Now, even the way that this movie is filmed is broken up into parts, and normally I'm not a big fan of that. I really don't like when a movie opens and it's like part 1, and then like 20 minutes in or 40 minutes in is like part 2, and then part 3, part 4. I'm usually not a big fan of that, but I will say that I did like it in this world, in this setting, in this film of Furiosa, and I thought it was very fitting. Now, and something else I also thought was very, which also made me very curious, is the lack of Anya Taylor-Joy's appearance in this movie. She does not show up in the movie until a good, maybe what, anywhere from 40 minutes to maybe even an hour. Like, the movie is really, really long, but she doesn't come until like almost halfway, maybe not quite halfway, but you know, a good chunk of the movie is gone before you even see Anya Taylor-Joy. I also really enjoyed seeing Chris Hemsworth, who portrays the main villain in this one. He's known as Dr. Dementus, I believe is what they call him, and he absolutely shines. They did do something silly with his nose, which I thought was a little weird, but I didn't really mind it too much given the fact that we are in a Mad Max world. But it was a little silly seeing Chris Hemsworth without just his normal nose. But he did oftentimes sort of have that Thor appearance to him. But honestly, I thought he was a very compelling villain. He was very brutal. Very chaotic. You know, he's embracing the chaos of this Mad Max world. He's brutal. His tactics are just unreal, like excruciating, really. And so it was really interesting to have him as the. It was really interesting to see him as the villain, and then having to play off Furiosa, who's supposedly, I guess you could say, the hero, but not really a hero. She's more of like an anti-hero because she does some pretty brutal stuff too. But so I really liked their chemistry. Also, I really liked the other villain. I can't even remember his name now. I can't remember what was his name. The People Eater. I can't even remember what his name was really. But he's he was sort of the main enemy of Dr. Dementus, with the exception of Furiosa. So there's like kind of two factions, and Furiosa is sort of like in between them both. But those two factions, which is Dr. Dementus and the other character, are always at odds and pretty well going to war with each other. And then Furiosa's kind of in the middle, but she hates Dr. Dementus even more because of something that happens to her as a child. Dr. Dementus really hurts her on a really personal, emotional way, and so really the whole movie is about her wanting to get revenge on Dr. Dementus, even though there is another enemy against Dr. Dementus too. And she's just sort of like floating between the two factions, so to speak, I guess. So I guess that's the best way I could describe it without actually giving it all away. But in terms of the action sequences were phenomenal. This was some of my favorite Mad Max action sequences that we've ever seen, probably. I thought the special effects were phenomenal. They did a great job with the CGI in this movie. And it was a lot of fun seeing the different characters. I will say that the movie is long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something, or 2 hours and 28 minutes. I can't remember exactly, but it's over to almost 2.5 hours long. And you do feel it. I do absolutely think they could have shown this whole movie in like 2 hours, maybe even less. I think this movie would have been even more enjoyable if it was like an hour, and even like an hour and 50 minutes, or maybe 2 hours if you wanted to keep it at the 2 hour mark. That would have been fine. And it's not that I felt that the movie was long long or boring. It's just I felt like even in all this awesome action, it's still, you could still feel the length, and I felt like the movie had a couple different endings. There were times when I just felt like the movie could have ended right here or right here, and then it keeps going, or right here, and then it keeps going, or right here. So it's not that it was a boring movie, it's just I felt like they didn't need to go as far as they went. They definitely did not need to spend as much time with Furiosa as a child as what they did. They could have cut that probably in half. I would have liked to see a good 20 to 30 minutes of her as a child. I had no problem with that, but then, you know, we see pretty well anywhere from 40 to 60 minutes of her just as a child before Anya Taylor-Joy even appears, and I thought that could have been cut down a fair amount. I understand that they have to give her backstory, they wanted to show her origins, I get all that, I'm not disputing that, but I just think that they could have easily shaved some time off this movie. But overall, I did really enjoy it. If I had to put a number on Furiosa, you know, honestly, I probably would have given this one like a 70%. I thought it was a great addition to the Mad Max Saga, even though Mad Max is not in here. It should have ended, I think, with maybe even a flash forward. They could have had Anya Taylor-Joy sort of transition into the actor that portrayed Furiosa in 2015 in Mad Max Fury Road. I think they could have sort of brought us up to date. That would have been really cool, or have it where they brought us up to the point where she meets Mad Max, and then they could have just ended it, and then that's it, and then it would make sense for it to be a Mad Max Saga, because then you would have been like, whoa, what a cool ending, you know, you got all this awesome action, this awesome movie, and it ends with Furiosa meeting Mad Max, or whatever their first encounter was. They literally didn't even have to reshoot the scene. They could have literally just re-showed the scene from Fury Road from when they first meet, and I think that would have had a huge impact, and really would have, for me, it would have brought the number of, like, from 70 probably up to like 80 or 85. So I do think that the title's a little deceiving, having Mad Max in the title, and Mad Max is not even in here. They should have put him in here. Like I said, they didn't need to rehire the actors. They could have just used, they could have just recycled some of the footage. But with that being said, folks, I did overall enjoy the movie. I don't really know why it's getting such low numbers at the box office. Maybe it's just that people are finally fed up with Hollywood. Maybe, you know, the woke agenda has been pushed way too much, and people think that this is going to be a woke film. I will say that this is, I think they did a really good job here with portraying a female lead, a sort of antagonist, I guess we could say. And honestly, the movie focuses a lot on Dr. Dementis and that other faction, so the movie's still not even really focused on Furiosa fully. It's actually really focused on this war between these two factions, and she's just sort of manipulating her way in between the two. But with that being said, folks, that's my review of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.